Hey guys, welcome back to High Yield Intraday Trading. I hope every one of you is doing good. So before we start discussing today's topic, let me request you all to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button here. Once you click on it, you will get the confirmation on the left bottom corner. Post you subscribe to my channel, also make sure to press the bell icon and click on all. You will get the confirmation on the left bottom corner so that whenever I upload a video, you get the notification about the same without any misses. Also, I would request you all to subscribe to my Telegram channel with the name HYIT Intraday Calls because I share a lot of things over there and it might be helpful to you in some way or the other. All right, so before we start with today's discussion, please allow me to mention about an offer that will reduce your capital requirements for trading various segments like the NSE futures and the MCX futures. Okay, talking about the NSE futures, you can trade contracts like Nifty, Bank Nifty, SGX Nifty, etc. with just 6,000 rupees for one lot, whereas in MCX you can trade one lot of crude oil, copper, natural gas, etc. for just 4,000 to 6,000 rupees. Okay, for gold and silver, it will cost you around 10,000 rupees per lot. And not only this, you will be happily surprised when you get to know the other features that are being offered. I can't give you all the details here as there are many, but I will surely share all the details post you get in touch with me. In today's scenario, if you want to trade one lot of crude oil, you need to have a minimum of 1.6 lakhs as your capital, that is 1 lakh 60,000. Similarly, for Nifty, for just one lot, you need to have at least 1 lakh as your capital. Now replace 1.6 lakhs with 4,000 to 6,000 rupees and 1 lakh with 6,000 rupees. It does make a lot of difference to a retail trader like you and me, right? So that's the help I want to extend or offer. And if you are interested, then you can get in touch with me on the details that are being shown on the screen and we can take it forward. All right, assuming that you know how pivots work, I still see many of the guys raising some questions like the one shown in the screenshots. Okay, let me show you the screenshots first. Right, so these are the screenshots. If you have a look on the left hand side screenshot, the question that is being asked is if you have a look on this green candle. So the trader says, I waited for the technicals. This particular green candle breached the resistance level and closed above it, and then I took a buy trade. So why did the trade fail? Now, if you have a look on the right hand side screenshot, the question is being raised at this green candle. Again, the trader says, I waited for the prices to break the resistance level and post it closed above the resistance level. I took a trade at this red candle and eventually my stop loss was hit. Why was that? Right? So these are some of the questions that are being asked whenever a particular trader is using pivot points. Now, this might sound silly, but please do emphasize on the fact that these are live trading scenarios that might appear to be small, but if you understand them right, they can do wonders for you. Because as I always say, in day trading, you have to bring in your observation skills to work to the max if you want the trade to do well. Okay, so basically, what does these questions suggest? What do you come to know when you hear such questions or queries? The thing that is clearly visible is that people know how pivot works, but they don't know how to implement it in the live market. They don't know how to use it in the right way. So in trading, it really doesn't matter how strong technicals you're using. If you don't know how to use them rightly, then they will not be of any use. So in this video, this is the exact thing that we are going to discuss, how to use the pivot points properly. And in order to discuss this, as I showed you the screenshots, we will take those two examples to explain some scenarios that you should be knowing as a trader. Okay, uh, let me see if I'm missing on something. Just a moment here. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and one more thing. Even before we start the pivot discussion, in order to use the pivot points rightly, the first thing that you need to know is the underlying trend. Okay, you have to be very clear about the trend, because only if we know the trend, we will be able to take advantage of the support and resistance using the pivot points, right? Because pivot points are all about support and resistance. So you need to know the trend first. Now I will leave it to you as to how you decide the trend. Okay, because there are numerous ways to decide the trend, and I'm not sure which one holds good for you. So whichever thing is being used by you, just make sure that you know what is the trend of the script or the indice that you are trading on, and only post that you use the pivot points. Okay, so this thing is the first requirement. This is the prerequisite of using pivot points. Clear? Now let's get on to the charts. I would rather say the screenshots. Okay, let me maximize this one first. I'll discuss this first. Okay, so what do you see here? So now, okay, let me also mention that forget about what time frame it is, forget about which script it is. The only intent of making this video is to make you understand how the pivot points should be used properly. Okay, so we are not concerned about which script is this, or which indice is this, or what is the time frame that is being followed. Okay, concentrate on the explanation that I'm going to give about the pivot points only. Okay, so what do you see on this day? The first candle of the day itself has a very long wick on the upper side of the candlestick, which tells us that the sellers are in control. But eventually what you see here is the script went up, isn't it? Right? So the first thing that you need to make sure is you don't decide anything on the first or the second or the third or the fourth candle. Give it some time. Give it at least 45 minutes to 1 hour for the script to run after the market opens. And only after that, when everything stabilizes, then you reach a conclusion, or then you start making decisions. Okay, if you are into equity cash, make sure that you don't start trading before 45 minutes to 1 hour after the market opens. Give it some time. Okay, because here in the first candle itself, if you would have initiated a short trade just by seeing such long wick, then it would be a disaster. Okay, if you just go by the explanation of wicks and what happens if we get a long wick on the upper side of the candle and all those stuffs, you will get stuck, because this candle clearly tells you that the sellers are in control and the script price should fall big time. But what happened? Exactly the opposite thing happened. Okay, so give it some time. Let 3 4 candles form up. Okay, if you are following a 15 minutes time frame, make sure that at least 3 to 4 to 5 candles form. And if you are using a 5 minutes time frame, make sure that more candles form in, and then you start taking decisions. Okay, so eventually what we are seeing here is the script starts moving up. Now, as I said, the first thing that you need to make sure is you need to know what trend is this script going through. Is it an uptrend or is it a downtrend? Okay, also, as I said, make use of any indicator which works well in determining the trend of a particular script. It might be an EMA, it might be a super trend, it might be anything, any technical with which you are comfortable with. Just make sure that it works well. Okay, so if you use an exponential moving average here, it will be very clear that this script is in an uptrend. Okay, so as a trader, what will you look here? Since the script is in an uptrend, you would love to initiate a buy trade, isn't it? And in order to initiate a buy trade, you need to wait for this resistance to be breached, right? This is the pivot point, the pivot line. So you have to wait for this resistance to be breached, and only after the candlestick closes above this resistance level, you will initiate a long trade or a buy trade at the next candle, right? So in this example, this is the candle which breaches the resistance. So after its closure, this is the candle where he will initiate a buy trade at any price. Right? Clear till here? Now, the trader did the same thing. He initiated a buy trade at this candle, but it did not work. The moment he initiated a buy trade, the script started falling and it came down. Eventually, his stop loss was hit. So why did this happen? What wrong did the trader do? I mean, technically he analyzed the scenario quite well, right? He waited patiently for this green candle to give a closure above the resistance line, which is the pivot line here, and then he initiated a buy trade at this red candle. So what wrong did he do? Well, the thing that he did wrong was he did not have a look. Oh, just a moment. Um, yeah. So he did not. I'm sorry. There's so many things going on in my mind, so I just got diverted. Okay. So what wrong did the trader do? The thing that the trader did wrong was he did not consider the gap between his entry and the next resistance. This gap, right? This gap is very less. So let's say, for example, this is a 500 rupees script. So let's say your entry is at 500 rupees, that is here, and the next resistance will be at around 502 or 503 rupees. Just a 2 to 3 rupees gap. Do you think it's sufficient enough? Do you think you should be initiating a trade with such a less gap? Because since it is a 500 rupees script, the uh, expectation that you will have is to gain at least 1% of the script price, which is 5 rupees. Chalo, even if it is not 5 rupees, at least you will expect to gain around 4 rupees or 4 rupees 50 paise. But here in this scenario, the gap itself is 2 to 3 rupees. So this trade should not have been initiated. And this is the exact wrong thing that the trader did. You need to always consider the gap between your entry and the next resistance level if you are going long. Similarly, you have to always consider the gap between your entry and the next support level if you are going short. Now, let's say, for example, if this green candle would have given a closure somewhere here, let's say, for example, then it would be an ideal scenario that the trader would have initiated a buy position after this green candle's closure, because the gap from your entry, that is from here till the next resistance level, is good enough. It will be around 6 to 7 rupees gap. And since you are trading a 500 rupees script, you will get a nice space to initiate your trade, to wait for the target to be met, and then to come out of the trade. Okay, so the gap between your entry and the next resistance level when you are initiating a buy trade is very important. I hope you are getting the point. Okay, just to make sure that you are getting the point, let me explain it again. Let's take the example of R1 and R2 here. Okay, let's say a candlestick is going up. Okay, so just a moment, let me extend it here, and let me extend this as well, right? So let's say the candlestick which sorry, just a moment, let me delete this. Okay, okay, just to make you understand one more time, let's consider R1 and R2. And let's say, for example, there is a candle which breached this particular resistance level and closed here. Will you take a trade at this level? The answer is no. Okay, there is another scenario wherein a candlestick breached this resistance level and closed somewhere here. Will you take a buy trade at this point? The answer is yes. That would be a right trade, because the gap here is a good gap. So after you take your entry, you will have a good amount of time to wait for your target to be met, and your stop loss also will be less. Okay, but here there is no gap at all. It is almost about to touch the next resistance, so you should not be thinking of initiating a buy trade here. Okay, so this was the explanation for the first screenshot, and I hope you got the first point. Okay, the baseline is you have to make sure that there is sufficient gap between your entry and the next resistance level when you are initiating a buy trade. Okay, now let's just a moment. Let's get on to the next screenshot. Okay, so what's happening here? Again, I'll give it some time and let's jump directly to this particular candlestick. Okay, so this is the candlestick which actually breached the resistance level. Okay, again, the trend is an uptrend, so we are expecting to take up a buy trade. Okay, so the trader waits for this particular green candle to give a closure above the resistance level. So the resistance level is this, which is R1. Okay, so the trader waits for this particular resistance level to be breached, and the candlestick gives a closure above the resistance level, and this is the candlestick where he takes the entry. But he places his stop loss somewhere here. Just, I'm sorry, just a moment. He places the stop loss somewhere here, just below the support level. So this was R1. Okay, R1 was a resistance before the candlestick breached it and closed above it. Once the candlestick breached this particular R1 line and closed above it, the same resistance becomes a support, right? So if you are initiating buy trade, you put a stop loss just below the support level. That is what I keep saying, right? So the trader did the same thing. He just kept the stop loss just below the support level, that is just below the R1. But the stop loss was hit. Okay, because after he took a trade at this red candle, okay, he took up a buy trade at this red candle, and post that it started moving down and eventually hits the stop loss, and then it starts moving up. So what wrong did he do here? He followed the technicals. He followed the absolute technicals in taking the entries, in taking his entry and in placing his stop loss. So what wrong did he do here? Well, the wrong thing that he did here is with the stop loss. When I say the stop loss has to be below the support level, it does not mean that you will place the stop loss here. Now, come on, your entry is here. So, for everything to happen on the chart, you need to give it some space. Now, this scenario exactly is known as a tight stop loss. I mean, if it is a 500 rupees script, you are putting a stop loss at around 1 rupees or 1 rupees 50 paise. Now, come on, that is not practical. So, where should be your stop loss? Your stop loss should be below this support level. Okay, please remember that if you are trading, you have to do the manipulations every time. Blindly, you cannot follow the things that I tell. Okay, because there is a lot of common sense that comes into picture as well. I mean, a 500 rupees script, you're trading a 500 rupees script, and for a 500 rupees script to give a reverse move of 1 to 2 rupees is not a big deal. Just because you took an entry at this level does not mean that it will start moving up from here and it will not come down. It does not mean that, right? It can very well come down and then it can go up the way it did in this particular example, right? So never ever keep a tight stop loss. If you are trading a 500 rupees script, target for around 4 to 5 rupees and keep the stop loss of around 4 to 5 rupees. As simple as that. Okay, it will be like whatever target you are expecting, the same amount of loss uh, you might incur if at all the stop loss gets hit. Okay, so that is the exact wrong thing that this particular trader did, because of which his stop loss got hit. Okay, now, so the point to take away here is, just because we have a support line here does not mean that you will place the stop loss just below the support. Just a moment, guys. I'm sorry, just got some call. Okay, so I hope you're getting the baseline. Okay, just following the technicals blindly is not worth it. Okay, now if you would be trading a 150 or a 200 rupees script And if you put the stop loss at this level, that's understandable. I can understand it, I can accept it. Because for a 100 rupee script or a 150 rupee script, it is a big deal to come down for 1 rupees. But if you're trading a 500 rupee script, it is not at all a big deal for it to come down to 1 to 2 rupees, right? So give it sufficient space for the scripts to move according to your anticipation. As simple as that. Okay, so here should be a stop loss. This is the right stop loss. This is the wrong stop loss. Okay, so most of the traders, they have a wrong notion that since this is a R1 and since this is a support, so that is a valid support. So I can take a stop loss just below it. That is wrong. You need to also make sure that you give a proper gap between your entry and the stop loss. The same way we saw in the previous screenshot, you need to always make sure the gap between your entry and the next resistance level is good enough. Similarly, you should also make sure that the gap between your entry and the stop loss is also fair enough. Okay, so this is the exact thing which I wanted to discuss, and I hope you got the point. Okay, so these are some scenarios which comes up almost regularly in a live trading session. So if you start observing these things on the live in the live market, then I'm very sure it will help you a lot in improving your trades. Okay, so these are the points that I wanted to discuss, guys. And again, please do remember that these are the very tits and bits of the chart reading that you need to master in order to trade right. Okay, and when I say mastering of a particular thing, it wraps up a whole lot of things inside it. Okay, so give it your time, guys. Show some respect, show some determination, not to anyone else, but to yourself, because you are the one who wants to be a good trader, right? Because you are the one who wants to achieve that financial freedom, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's it from my end, guys. And for the guys who have not watched my previous video, I have put in the video card on the top right corner of the video, and the eye symbol that you see there, you can click on it and watch my previous video. And as always, would request you all to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please do not miss the ending of this video, as you will get to know some more information about HYIT that might be helpful to you in some way or the other. And please feel free to ask your questions or queries, if any, in the comment section, and I will surely reply back to them. And also, please do not forget to like this video if you liked it. So that's all from my end, and I will see you all later. Hope you all will stick back. Happy trading and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.